Hello everybody, this is The Exception and welcome to my Pokemon for Glory draft analysis video for the Tampa Bay Luxrays. So I have joined another league called the P4G. This league was started by Kyle A. He is the commissioner. He is also a coach in the NPA and he invited me to join his league. So here I am. I know I said I was going to be taking a break and I've been gone a few weeks, but you know what? Here I am, the break's over. Yeah, so we're going to get some more YouTube content going and whatnot. So we're going to go through my draft here and talk about why I pick stuff, and my thought process behind it. So let's go ahead and start off with the first move I made, which was to franchise tag Florges. So this is the first season of the P4G. So instead of franchising from previous seasons, what we did was anybody who's been in a previous league was able to franchise tag a poke from a previous league team that they were on. So I was able to grab Florges. I considered grabbing Landorus T, but I wanted to make a change in this league. So in the NPA, both seasons, I ran a pretty offensive team. I decided that for the P4G, I wanted to run a defensive team, kind of a trickery team, just have some more fun with it, because I feel like I can battle better with a defensive team. I feel overall defensive teams are easier to battle with. I don't want to get too stally with it, but I want to have some fun, and so I'm going with Florges. Florges was my first pick, and I think it's pretty great. It has a really high special defense stat, really good special attack stat. Not too fast, but it can also function as a cleric. It can wish up, wish pass. It can calm mind, substitute. Just wreck. It gets aromatherapy. It gets heal bell. Safeguard. Again, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be using all these moves or not, but these are some of the best moves for the poke. And I left some of those off just because they don't all fit on the screen, but these are just some notable ones, things that you might see throughout the season. So pay attention to that as we go through the other slides here. But so Florges is my first pick. Let's move on to the second pick. I picked Skarmory. Okay, so Skarmory, I had a plan. After I took Florges, I started thinking about, okay, well, I've been watching Papa C in the NPA a lot because he's been making it pretty far, and his Blissey Skarmcore has been insane. So I kind of wanted to emulate that, but instead of Blissey, I went with Florges. Now that kind of screws up some stuff because Florges can't take it doesn't have the same resistances, and it doesn't have as high as a defense or special defense stat as Blissey. So it's not exactly the perfect switch-in for Blissey, but I felt like it was better because it can't be set up on as easily. If somebody sends out something on Blissey, they can easily Swords Dance on you, they can Rock Polish, do all this other sort of nonsense. So Blissey was not something that I wanted on my team. So I'm going to try to emulate the Blissey Skarmcore with Skarm Florges instead. And I don't know how well it's going to work, but I hope it works well. So Skarmory here, why it works so well with Florges or other special defensive mon is because it has such a high defense stat. So it has 140 defense. It can be a huge defensive wall. It can be a hazard stacker or a defogger. So it gets access to defog. It can set up spikes, stealth rock. It gets roost, whirlwind. Lots of cool stuff. Taunt, tailwind. I'm not sure if I'll use tailwind in singles here, but I do like Tailwind as a move, and I might use it at some point in the season, but we'll have to see. It gets Swords Dance, it gets Brave Bird, Iron Head, so very nice high-hitting stab moves there. We get counter and double edge, Drill Peck, Rock Slide, X Scizor. So a lot of coverage there. I'm not sure how much of that stuff we're going to be running, but it's a really good mon. So let's move on to the third pick. I picked up Rotom Wash. That's my third pick in round 2 of the draft here. So I had my Skarm Florges core. Now of course you're going to be thinking, okay, well, that Fairy Dragon Steel, where's your dragon? Well, the dragon's going to come later. Don't worry about that. So I wanted to get started off here on a Water Grass Fire core. And my original thought was, okay, well, I need a bulky water to start this off. There were a lot of bulky waters left. You had Suicune, you had Milotic, Rotom. And I decided to go with Rotom, simply for the fact that it gets Volt Switch. Now, It has very high, well, not very high, but, you know, better than average defense and special defense stats. Also has a really good special attack, so it's really good mon. Suicune has a little bit higher stats, but it doesn't get Volt Switch and whatnot. It also does not levitate, so Rotom W I felt was better here, at least for my team, and I want to play around with it a little bit. But it gets Reflect, it gets Light Screen, so we could possibly set up dual screens, you know, get that Light Clay going, and play around a bit. We get Trick, we get Thunder Wave, Will-O-Wisp, Electro Web, Volt Switch, of course, Hydro Pump. So Hydro Pump's going to be fun to use. Thunderbolt, you know, since it has a nice special attack stat, it's going to get Hidden Power, and we can use whatever Hidden Power we want. Shadow Ball. And it also gets Sucker Punch. Now, it doesn't have the best attack stat at 65 base, but Sucker Punch could be interesting at some point. I don't know if I'll ever use it, but I've been thinking about it, and I think it could be interesting in certain matchups. So we'll have to see where I go with that. Probably won't go anywhere, to be honest, but it is there to possibly use. So let's move on to our next pick. So in round 3, I took Sableye. Now, I considered waiting on this, but I decided not to. So I was looking at Smogon. I was looking at cores. I looked up cores because I wanted to see like what kind of Pokemon cores I could try to use in this draft. And then a Smogon page came up with, you know, Fire, Grass, Water, Dragon, Fairy, Steel, and then at the bottom it was talking about how well Dark, Fighting, and Psychic types can work together. So I wanted to try something out with that. And I was thinking about saving Sableye till later, but since Sableye is a Prankster user, that really would not have sat well on the draft board. Somebody would have taken it sooner than later. So I went ahead and picked it up. It gets Will-O-Wisp, Toxic, Trick, Calm Mind, Recover, Psych Up, Roleplay, Nasty Plot, Mean Look, Magic Coat, Gravity, and you know, so we can run some like really weird sets with all of those, you know, priority moves there. You know, we also get Substitute, so we could sub up Calm Mind, Recover, you know, Shadow Ball, something like that. We get Fake Out, we get Shadow Ball, Knockoff, Foul Play, Sucker Punch, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, and Thunder Punch. So lots of different coverage moves there. I'm pretty excited to be using Sableye in the Draft League. I've never used it in Draft League, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. Fun for me, not fun for the opponent. So again, I'm not going to try to be too stally with this team, but I want it to be defensive. I want it to be trickery. I don't want, you know, to be hyper offensive. I don't want to be offensive really at all. I want to rely on trickery and just I don't know, just playing around, you know. I'm sure that'll piss some people off, and I'm sorry if it does, but I just want to have some fun, and I think that'll be really cool to see some interesting sets with all these pokes here. So let's move on to round 4. We got Celebi. So we are getting Celebi here. Celebi sort of works with Sableye in that it's Psychic. Like I said, I wanted to try the Dragon Fighting Psychic core, see if there's anything there. So I picked up Celebi because Celebi also fits the Fire, Grass, Water core. Now all I'm missing is my Fire type and my Dragon type. Well, what's Fire and Dragon type? You're thinking Charizard. Well, that's not coming because that was stolen from me. But it's okay. Things all worked out. So let's talk about Celebi a little bit. 100 base stats all around. It can be any kind of wall. It can be a special defensive wall. It can be a defensive wall. It can be a utility poke with Baton Pass. It gets Trick, Calm Mind, Recover. We get Nasty Plot, Sword Stance. So we can pass stats with Baton Pass. It can be very offensive. So it gets some really nice offensive moves. It gets Sucker Punch. We actually get U-Turn. So we can be a U-Turner as well. Giga Drain, Psychic. This can be an all-around Pokemon. You don't know what's coming every week. And I also don't want my opponent knowing what's coming every week. So also keep in mind, since we're going to have like 3 cores on this team and a whole bunch of utility mons, I don't want my opponent being able to guess what I'm going to bring. So, you know, they guess 6 mons and I bring the other 5 or 6 or whatever, you know. I don't want them to know what I'm bringing. So, all this stuff is going to be really crazy, but that is Celebi. Let's move on to the next one. So we got Dragalge finally rounding out the dragon in my Fairy Dragon Steel core. So I really wanted Mega Charizard X, but that got stolen out from under me. And there is no, you know, other Fire Dragon Mega out there, unfortunately. So I don't get to round out my cores like that. But it actually wound up working out for me, because Dragalge can function as a special defensive wall. Look at its high special defense stat. It also gets access to toxic spikes, so it can hazard stack a little bit. Gets acid armor to boost its defense or special defense, something like that. I forgot that move already. We get Thunderbolt, Hydro Pump, Shadow Ball, Scald, Hidden Power of any type, of course, Icy Wind, Sludge Bomb, Surf, Venoshock. So it gets a lot of coverage moves. Really interesting Pokemon. I'm not sure how often I will bring it, but it does, does close out that Fairy Dragon Steel core. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that is Dragalge. So let's move on. So we got Ambipom. Ambipom is actually one of the pokes I'm more excited to use. Overall, it's not that impressive, to be honest. It's a stat passer with Baton Pass. It can U-turn. And it really is not that impressive, but it gets Technician. And Technician will boost the power of moves that are 60 or below base power to 90. So 90, it makes it 50% higher. So if it's a 60 base power move, it'll become 90 base power. And so Fake Out actually does a lot of damage with this thing. We get U-turn, Toxic Thunder Wave. We can Taunt. We get Agility, Switcheroo to switch items with our opponents. We get Work Up, Nasty Plot. So lots of moves to boost with, and then we can Baton Pass out into whatever we want. We get Fake Out, Beat Up, Brick Break, Aerial Ace, Return, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch. So that Brick Break could be useful for breaking other teams' Reflex and Light screens. So I really think Ambipom could be an amazing poke on this team, and I'm very excited to use it. I know Cress had it in the NPA, and I think she said that she wasn't too impressed with it in the chat, but I'm excited to use it. I think there's potential here, and I want to see that potential come out. All right, so let's move on to round 7. We got Blaziken. So closing out that Water, Grass, Fire core, we got Blaziken. It's also closing out the Dark, Psychic, Fighting core. So this is not Speed Boost Blaziken, just to be upfront with that. So in leagues, in draft leagues, sometimes they allow Ubers, but they get rid of some of their, you're not allowed to use certain abilities. So like in the P4G and in the NPA, Speed Boost Blaziken isn't allowed, but Blaze Blaziken is, as well as Torrent Greninja is allowed, but Protean Greninja is not. So I'm running a Blaze Blaziken. So it's going to be offensive. It has a very high special attack stat, very high attack stat. It also has decent speed. Could run a Choice Scarf. We could use Agility to get our speed up here. We get Swords Dance, Work Up, Will-O-Wisp. We can Baton Pass actually with it, which I'm not sure how much we're going to be doing. It's a very offensive mon, so I don't know how much, how much Baton Passing we're going to do. But it's there. It's there for potential use at some point. We get Superpower, Earthquake, Flare Blitz, Knockoff, Poison Jab, Quick Attack. Quick Attack, I really like priority moves, and Quick Attack and Mach Punch are here for Blaziken, and I think we'll be using that every once in a while. I'm not sure if we'll use both, but Mach Punch, Quick Attack to cover different pokes, and I think they can be very useful. Then we get Rock Slide, of course, so that'll be fun for dealing with some flying types, of course, and fire types. So let's move on to round number 8, where we picked up Hitmonlee. So I picked up another fighting type, and the reason I picked up Hitmonlee was because it was one of the better Rapid Spinners that was left. So I have a Defogger, and I wanted a Rapid Spinner, because Defog is nice, but it gets rid of the hazards on your opponent's side of the field as well, while Rapid Spin does not. So I wanted to be able to run Rapid Spin and or Defog, rather than be forced to run Defog every week, because my team is kind of weak to rocks. I don't want to deal with rocks too often or hazards too often. So having a Rapid Spinner and Defogger are going to be very useful, I think. But Hitmonlee can be pretty offensive. It can work as a special defensive wall, actually. Has pretty decent special defense at 110. We could possibly run an Assault Vest on it for some extra special defense. I'm not sure if we'll do that at all, but it could be useful. Again, it gets Rapid Spin, so It gets some very basic, you know, status moves. We get Refresh, we get Bulk Up, Toxic, Work Up, Roleplay. Not very much on the status moves for Hitmonlee, unfortunately. But it is a very heavy hitter. It has decent speed, pretty good special defense, so we'll see how it works out. We get Fake Out with this, Brick Break, Close Combat, Earthquake, High Jump Kick, Knock Off, Low Sweep. We get Mach Punch for some extra priority, as well as Bullet Punch, so that'll be cool. Let's move on to round 9, where we got Liepard. So, Liepard is my... no, it's not my final pick, but it was my final regular pick. My next pick is going to be my Mega, and it's a Tier 5 Pokemon, so in the draft, there are Tiers 1 through 5, all worth different amounts of points. So, Tier 5 was the last poke I had to pick to fill out a place on my team, and I went with Liepard. I actually had a few options here, and Liepard, I'm not sure if it'll stay on the team, but I was looking at it, and it gets Prankster. It gets U-Turn, and you know what's cool about Liepard here is that it gets Prankster Thunder Wave, which Sableye does not get. Sableye gets Prankster Will-O-Wisp, it gets Prankster Toxic, but Liepard gets Prankster Toxic and Prankster Thunder Wave. So that's, you know, if we need to use Thunder Wave more often, maybe we'll bring Liepard over Sableye. I don't know. But it gets Fake Out, it gets Sucker Punch. We also get Knock Off, Iron Tail, Aerial Ace. So some cool moves here. And of course, it fits into the U-Turn core a lot, very well, and whatnot. So Liepard could be fun. If it doesn't work as planned, I could drop it and pick up what I originally wanted to pick up. The thing with what I wanted to pick up was that it really is a terrible Pokemon, and I don't want to talk about it because I don't want anybody else to think that it could be useful to them, because it probably won't be. It probably won't even be useful to me if I pick it up, but I don't know. I had some ideas with another poke, and I don't know. They might be too out there to use. But anyways, let's move on to our final pick and our Mega, which is Mega Pinsir. So Bug Flying type, of course. Very high defense. Very decent speed. Very high attack stats. So it can be offensive. It can be a defensive wall. We get Swords Dance. We get Iron Defense. Close Combat. Quick Attack. Of course, we are going to have Aerial 8 as our ability, which will make all of our normal type moves air type, flying type, I'm sorry, they'll make them all flying type and multiply them by 1.3, and then of course their stab as well, since we're flying type. So Quick Attack's going to do a lot of damage here, Return is going to do a lot of damage, Double Edge will do a lot of damage, we also get Bug Bite, we get Brick Break, Thrash, I'm not sure if we'll use Thrash ever, but it could be fun, Knock Off, X-Scissor, stuff like that. So that is the team here. Let's look at the final team all together. There you'll see it. It's a very defensive team, specially and physically. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it, having a lot of utility mons. I don't want people to know what I'm going to bring every week. So yeah, this has been the team for the Pokemon for Glory. Hope you guys enjoyed this draft analysis video, and I will see you guys in week 1 of the P4G. Peace out.